Listen, I know that the X-Men's Doomsday trailer already leaked and everybody is talking about that, but Marvel finally released the Thor trailer, so I can only make a video about that now. I'm sorry this is old news, but you can blame it on them because they're cowards. All that being said, oh my god guys, peak Thor is so back. The second teaser for Avengers Doomsday focuses entirely on Thor and his new daughter. We see Thor in this new look as he prays to Odin asking for strength for the upcoming battle he's about to face. This is exactly the kind of Thor we have been missing out on. We are about to see the God of Thunder reach heights we have not seen in years. It's kinda crazy that this is our first time seeing Thor since Endgame. You'd think they would have made a Thor movie in that time period, but I think it's cool he's got a daughter now. Alright, yeah, I can't exactly pretend that Love and Thunder didn't happen anymore. But if there's one thing pretty much everybody can agree on coming out of that film, Thor needs another tonal reset, and Doomsday seems to be doing just that. Love and Thunder learned the wrong lesson from Ragnarok as they leaned way too heavily into the comedy aspect of the character, when what made Thor so interesting in that movie is how broken he was. Now, as we head into Doomsday, it's very clear to me that the Russo brothers understand what makes MCU Thor work, as we're going to be bringing him back to basics. This is one of the most powerful characters in the entire MCU who has been through a lot, so it's hard to keep making him suffer, but thank God they found a way to do it again here, because the idea of Thor coming to terms with the fact that he might leave his new daughter alone is a beautiful idea that gives him new motivation and a second wind for his character arc. I think that MCU Thor is at his best when he's sad, broken, and is the star of his own Shakespearean tragedy inhabiting this cosmic world of color. Sorry dude, I know you've already suffered a lot, but we need more. So when you threaten to take that away from him, especially after he finally just got to a place of happiness, it puts Thor in a really interesting position as he has someone else to fight for once. And I have a feeling we're gonna find out that is the most dangerous version of Thor. Say what you will about the Russo brothers, but they know exactly how to handle Thor. I think we can all agree he was at his best in Infinity War. They took what little he had left and broke him down to his bare essentials, putting him on this path of vengeance that portrayed him better than he ever had been at that point in the MCU. Then, Endgame continued to develop Thor as we went in a completely new direction with him, and I really loved that. Seeing this all-powerful god struggle with depression after he feels guilt for not going for Thanos' head is a really inspiring story when you see him come back around to that worthiness by the end of the movie. It was by far my favorite step of his character arc. That scene when he summons Mjolnir again brings me to tears every single time. So going into Doomsday, more than any other character, I fully trust the Russo brothers with Thor. They know how and when to reinvent him, and now is the time to do it. But here's the thing. Besides the new tone they're giving Thor, I think the most interesting thing about this trailer for a lot of people is that he has a completely new look from the last time we saw him. Most notably, Thor has short hair again. I can't say I ever expected them to go back to that look, but I know Chris Hemsworth did enjoy not having to wear a wig, so fair enough to him. He's got crazy aura with the short hair anyway, so I think it works. I'm curious if we find out both how and why his hair is short now, or if they just brush right past it, because last time it was very much so against his will that happened. Also, I really like the brief glimpses we got at his new costume. It's basically a rite of passage at this point for Thor to get a new suit in every subsequent appearance. And while I did like his final costume in Love and Thunder, the black and gold one, not the blue and gold one, that was a mess, I think this is definitely an improvement and maybe my favorite of the classic Thor costumes we've seen in the MCU. I definitely think his best is the fur coat and hope to God they bring it back one day. But the all black look with the gold circles on the chest plate and the red cape goes so hard. It very much so feels like an upgraded version of the Infinity War suit, as they've improved on that by giving it a splash of gold, which goes a long way in not only making Thor feel more royal, but just making him look even cooler, especially considering that he finally gets to let those guns out. It really completes the whole look. At this point, I have fully accepted it'll probably never happen again in the MCU, but I am praying that Thor has a helmet in this movie. We have been deprived of a good helmet on Thor for so long, and I desperately need to see him don his iconic armor once again. This can't be the last time we saw Thor wear a helmet, okay? And you know what, while we're talking about prayers, we might as well talk about his prayer to Odin in this teaser, because I think it is incredibly well written. Writer Stephen McFeely is cooking with his dialogue. In the teaser, Thor says, "Father, all my life I've answered every call, to honor, to duty, to war. But now fate has given me something I never sought, a child, a life untouched by the storm. Lend me the strength of the All-Fathers, so that I may fight once more, defeat one more enemy, and return home to her, not as a warrior, but as warmth, to teach her not battle, but stillness, a kind I never knew. Please, Father, heed my words." That was a piss-poor Thor impression, but you get the point. There's a reason I'm a YouTuber, not an actor. Then again, so is Chris Hemsworth. Maybe I have a shot. No, I definitely don't. Does that dialogue not give you chills and send shivers down your spine? This is the kind of soulful Thor dialogue we have been missing out on in the MCU. Not just in the cadence of his voice and the Shakespearean words he utters, but in his desperation for strength, which I find incredibly powerful. To see someone so strong be humbled and concerned to the point where they're praying for more power should be worrying to us all and does a great job of really selling how important the stakes are here. While this is hardly the first time we've seen Thor make a prayer to the Allfathers in the MCU, he literally did it in Infinity War before taking the full force of a star, it does make me wonder if we're gonna see him get a huge power upgrade in this movie. The source of Thor's power comes from the Odin Force. Mjolnir and Stormbreaker just help him channel that. But now that Odin has been dead for a hot minute, it makes me wonder if Thor is going to inherit the full power of the Odin Force. It could be exactly what he needs to stop Doom, and would be a huge step in his journey. I also think it would be a very interesting way to help parallel Thor with Odin at this point in his life, especially as he steps into a position of fatherhood. We can see Thor become just as powerful as his father did, but not let that power corrupt him as he continues to be a good and pure-hearted dad to love. And not one of the worst dads ever like Odin was. He was very cruel to say the least. I mean, look at how Loki and Hela turned out. Woof. And if you'll indulge me for a second, going a little off the rails here. Seeing Thor in this forest, I can't help but think about Loki's line saying, "The sun will shine on us again, brother." The opening shot is literally the sun shining down upon Thor, and then we see him basking in its warmth. While this is hardly the first time since Infinity War that we've seen Thor in the sun, considering that both he and Loki are going to be in this movie, I have to imagine we're finally going to get their reunion in Doomsday, and if so, I'm going to be insufferable about it because I have been waiting years for this day. Honestly, in a perfect scenario for me, after Thor finishes praying to Odin, Loki would surprise Thor and enter through this rip in time and tell him how much he needs his help. Not only would it be a really sweet reunion to actually see the sun shining upon them, but the beautiful full circle moment of Thor praying to his father only for Loki to be the one to save him would be a great way to show just how far Loki has come to where he's the hero rescuing Thor now. Oh man, that would hit like crack in the theater. I have no doubt in my mind we're going to see them reunite in this movie, and when it happens, it's undoubtedly going to be one of the most satisfying payoffs in the entire MCU. Especially when Loki finally gets to meet love. Oh, seeing him as an uncle is going to be adorable. Now I just have to hope this movie doesn't kill Loki off again, because the Russos sure do love to do that, especially given his coveted throne at the end of time. It's honestly impressive how much this one single teaser makes me care more about Thor's daughter than the entirety of Love and Thunder did. I'll give him this, their interactions were very cute in that movie, but that's only because it was Chris Hemsworth talking to his actual daughter. In this teaser, it actually seems like Thor cares about this kid. Over the course of the MCU, Thor's entire arc has been about finding purpose. At first, he thought it was being king. Only for the moment that he finally gets the throne is when all of Asgard dies and he spirals out of control, no longer seeking the burden of that power and realizing that was always Odin's dream, not his own. Love and Thunder tried to explore that directionlessness, and I do really like the end result of that when Thor becomes a girl dad. He has finally found his calling to care about someone else more than his own self. It is such a beautiful, full circle moment to look back on, especially considering just how cocky and selfish he was at the start of his journey. And now for Doctor Doom to enter the picture and threaten to take that away from him, and potentially forcing his daughter to experience the very wars that Thor is trying to protect her from, making sure that this cycle of violence isn't passed down onto her. I mean, come on, you can't get much more compelling than that, all in like, what, a minute 20 seconds? Now that we've seen the first two trailers for Doomsday, it's very clear to me that fatherhood is going to be an important theme of the film. They didn't just make Steve Rogers a parent for no reason. I'm not really sure how Doom is going to tie into that at this point, outside of the fact that there's a rumor that Dr. Doom lost his child and now blames Steve Rogers for that. So I can see that extending to Thor, which is a very natural way to involve him in the plot and make him being a parent feel important. Talk about an effective trailer, that did everything it was supposed to do and then some. I think that thus far of the officially released teasers, this blows the Steve-focused one out of the water. Even if we take away my bias as a Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson superfan who is both frustrated that they're undoing Steve's ending and concerned that they're overshadowing Sam, I just don't think that last teaser was as interesting as it could have been. It's just a very slow and kind of boring teaser that doesn't give us a good idea of the tone and the stakes of this movie. It feels more like an ad for heartburn medicine than for an Avengers movie. The only big takeaway is that Steve is a father now, but that could have been an email, guys. Meanwhile, this Thor teaser does pretty much everything right and gives you a lot more to chew on. It shows us Thor in a new mysterious environment praying for more strength, indicating that something bad has already happened or something worse is on the way. The prayer and the way it's written give us a great indication of both the tone of the movie and the new direction they're going to be taking Thor, and it actually progresses his growth from a previous movie in an interesting way. It's a teaser that got me interested in Thor's character again, and more importantly, it got me excited for Doomsday again. It's very funny to see the entire conversation surrounding Doomsday flip practically overnight after Marvel dropped a genuinely great teaser, but hey, that's the power of marketing, and it's crazy to think that the best is still yet to come. So on that note, I'm gonna go back to rewatching the leaked X-Men trailer non-stop until they finally drop it in HD. Same time next week for another video that's way too late? That's way too long to wait. I'm gonna go break into Marvel Studios and steal it for myself. Until then, why don't you just let me know your thoughts on this Doomsday teaser? I would genuinely love to hear what everyone has to say and continue the conversation down below. And while you're at it, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you don't do it, I'm gonna take your daughter. And if you don't have a daughter, I'm gonna give you a daughter and then I'm gonna take her. So subscribe before I ruin your family.